Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the real reason why Carlos Tavares resigned from the company. Why he was forced out is basically what happened. But we're going to talk about that. We've heard lots of speculation and rumors and stuff like that online from different YouTubers. Stuff like that's crazy that doesn't make any sense. Like, oh, the reason why is because he cut V8 production. The reason why is because he, it's just been focusing on these Chinese brands coming into Europe and stuff like that. But there's an honest reason why he was let go, and that's because he had a huge clash with the Stellantis board about long-term direction. Reports from Reuters and Bloomberg have pointed out that several people within that meeting basically came out and said why, behind closed doors, what happened. And I wrote an article about it basically on the 3rd here for Mopar Insiders that you can go and read, but I'm just going to quickly run over it. So basically what happened was Tavares got summoned to the board. Stocks have continued to fall. Morale is shot to hell at the company. And instead of having one fire to put out, there's probably about more than a dozen fires going on all across the global market. They were expecting to get rid of an additional 100,000 units of product for the 4th quarter. It hasn't happened. And they want change. They want to know what's going on. The stock has dropped like 44% over the year. And somebody has got to be called in and be under fire for it. And it's him. So basically what they said was during this meeting, Carlos had all these answers for short-term stuff, but never a long-term strategic plan. And if you remember, a few months ago, there was all this talk at the Sterling Heights Assembly Plant about why Ram 1500 production was a mess. And Tavares was out there publicly speaking about it, saying about how the plant is a mess and how they're not building quality products anymore, and yet he was going to come to North America and fix it. So the UAW actually held a protest the day he was supposed to show up. Now, mind you, Tavares did come to the U.S. He did come to Michigan, but he stayed at the Auburn Hills campus. And apparently him and John Elkin were both there, and Tavares was working on a long-term plan to get the company back, in order. And he never even showed up to the plant to actually talk to the people at the assembly line. And what the problem was this new electrical architecture, this Atlantis electrical architecture that they're having problems with. A lot of the trucks were having just massive electrical issues with, connectivity and infotainment system problems and all that stuff. And it was causing Stellantis to spend millions and millions of dollars to truck these vehicles off-site and to have engineers from places around the globe to come and fix them. And the reason why they say around the globe is because in January of this year, Tavares fired 2% of their North American workforce, which was mainly software and software and electrical engineers. I'm sorry. So he let those people go, and then he was going to take and outsource their jobs to the other parts of the company in Brazil, Morocco, and India. Well, the problem is you have your most important vehicle in your product lineup, the Ram 1500, going through a major, well, it wasn't major, but it was a mid-cycle refresh with an all-new electrical architecture, and it was new powertrains and all this stuff. It's the most important vehicle in their lineup. It's the most profitable and their best-selling vehicle. And you also have the launch of 2 all-new electric vehicles that are new from the ground up. Mind you, the Stella large platform that the new Jeep Wagoneer S and the Dodge Charger Daytona are based on are evolutions of the Giorgio platform, but yet they are completely modernized for all electrical purposes. So when you let those engineers go and you're not meeting deadlines and you're spending all this money to solve quality control issues, there's huge problems there. And what was Tavares' idea of how to fix this? bring people in that are working on different projects from around the world to solve these issues, and cut costs more. And we've seen videos on this channel of Tavares laughing when somebody asked him, "Hey, you're known as the automotive samurai." And he's like, "I don't know why."
Is that description accurate? A samurai of the car industry? I'm not even sure I know what that means.
Neither do I, by the way, Jason. Neither do I. I don't know. I don't know if it is appropriate. What I would say is that I'm certainly totally passionate about this industry. I've been working in the automotive industry for 42 years now.
Well, that's because he goes through these car companies and he cuts everything out. And the problem was, yeah, it's good for short-term stuff, but what about the long-term game plan? Like, there's nothing. There's no gain in any of this stuff. And the problem is he's getting ready to head out the door in 2026, so he doesn't really care about that. He doesn't care about the company in the long run. So basically what the board had to do was, like, hey, you don't have a long-term plan. Like, we have to move away from this stuff. And they basically let him know that he was going to be fired or he could resign, like most high-up CEO jobs are, and he resigned from his position. But thanks to Reuters and Bloomberg, we actually got some quotes from people that were in this meeting or connected to the meeting. And according to one person, the board was concerned that the emphasis on cost-cutting was leading to quality issues, potentially limiting Stellantis' ability to innovate and produce new products. And that was from one investment banker. And then we had another quote down here that was saying, it was an analyst from Bernstein, Stephen Reitman, who said the problems are deep and they're not easily fixed. Well, the reason why the problems are deep is because you don't have just one fire. You have dozens of fires, and they're not just in one market. They're in all the markets. So, yeah, it's good. It's going to be hard to make this company whole again, but it shouldn't be that hard if you have somebody that's actually passionate about it and knows what they're doing. One thing that Carlos Tavares has obviously come out publicly and said was he doesn't understand the North American market. He doesn't understand it. And he said that he screwed up. And that was earlier this year that he said this. And we figured things were going to start changing here. He's pushing all this EV stuff in a market that doesn't want EV stuff. And the other big three members, basically GM and Ford, have moved away from EVs to focus on their hybrid technology. Well, Tavares himself wouldn't change from that. It was still let's go, but the problem is when you have all these quality control issues and like these launches of these new vehicles, these two new vehicles have been delayed and delayed and delayed, they're still not out. We just heard that the Wagoneer S was released out of containment. It is being shipped out as we speak in this video, and that people should start receiving them at dealers this next week, as soon as next week. As for the Charger Daytona, mind you, there's been thousands of models built, but they are still in containment. They were hoping to have containment done and open by November 30th, but that hasn't happened. They are still waiting, according to my sources, they're still waiting for several software updates for the car, and early models of the Scat Pack are getting new shocks because they had issues with the shock absorbers. So those that have already been built are going to be having to go through and having their shocks changed out because there's an issue with the shock absorbers. We are probably going to see them launched or released out of containment the week before Christmas, at the earliest. Stellantis is being pressured to ramp up production of these EVs because they get money from the governments for depending on how many EVs they produce. And the problem is that it doesn't look like they're going to make these. So that's even another reason why Carlos Tavares is under fire. They're pushing vehicles that won't sell, and they're building new vehicles that, no one has interest in, but they're getting paid from the government, and they can't make the deadlines because of all the quality control issues. So, basically, Carlos's days were outnumbered. Even though he had just over a year left, the company couldn't take anymore, and like I said, the stock has fallen 44% over the last year. So, what is Stellantis planning on doing with Carlos Tavares' position? So let's talk about that real quick. We're going to go into that. I wrote an article again this morning about it. So here's what Stellantis announced, okay? They're going to have a interim team. Basically, a bunch of people that already work for the company and a couple of people that retired from the company come in and kind of take over certain things that Carlos Tavares was supposed to be looking at and doing. And hopefully try to steer the company in the right direction so a new CEO can come in and start working on it. They're planning on finding and naming their new CEO by the second quarter of 2025. Okay, so we got about 3 months for them to find one. Now, this new leadership team committee, they are also going to help with finding the new CEO. And a lot of people think it's going to be this guy right here, Antonio Filosa, who is the head of the Jeep brand. He's the new Jeep CEO, and he's also been named COO, Chief Operating Officer for North America for Stellantis. The reason why he's like, one of the ones that everybody thinks is going to be is because he had a lot of success in South America. That's what brought him to the Jeep brand CEO position here. In South America, Fiat and Jeep and Ram dominate their specific markets. Ram is a premium brand down there. Jeep is a premium brand down there. Fiat isn't, but Fiat has the best-selling vehicle in South America. And they also have like the top, I think 3 out of 5 best-selling vehicles in the marketplace. So there's a lot of, out of all the regions that Stellantis has right now, South America is doing the best. So they really want to keep him in a North American position to run the Jeep brand. And so I doubt that he's going to get the CEO role. I don't think he wants it, but I think that he likes his position now. And he's just started working on the North American market. And it seems like he's pretty positive about it. There's a lot of positive reaction about what he's doing. So I don't think they want to just come in and shove him out of that when things are starting to get rolling. I mean, he hasn't even had a chance to really get things going. He's only been in the position for a month or so. So, yeah. But he's got some new roles in the company during this interim part. Basically, what he's going to be is he's going to have expanded responsibilities, including South America. So he's going to run his old division. He's going to run the Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram parts of the company. Not be the CEO, but he's going to oversee the CEO parts of, like, they're going to report to him. And mind you, he is the Jeep CEO, but he's going to oversee, so like Christine Fuel and Matt McAleer will have to report to him. He's also going to have Ralph Gilles report to him because he's going to be head of the North American Design Organization. So Ralph will still run it for now, but he will report to him directly. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up, so basically Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Maserati all fall under Ralph's direction, unless it's Fiat for South America, because Ralph runs the North American operations, South American operations, and the Maserati brand for the design team. Their purchasing officer, their purchasing chief, he's going to continue to oversee his position, but he's going to oversee the operations in China, which have kind of fallen back quite a bit in recent years because Jeep doesn't build vehicles there anymore. But he's going to oversee that, and he's also going to oversee the new Leap Motor venture to Europe, which Tavares was really pushing for. So he's going to continue to see that because they just launched those Chinese brand in the European market. Doug Osterman, he's the chief financial officer right now. He's going to continue with his position, and nothing's going to change with him. However, the former CFO who retired, Richard Palmer, is going to come back and be a special advisor to John Elkann, who's the chairman of the company. And he's going to serve as a sounding board for the leadership team. So basically, he's going to go and make sure that these guys can get all of their stuff done. Now, mind you, there's several other people who are going to play roles in, like, engineering and technology, manufacturing, but their roles won't be as big. They're just going to be a part of the team that will help pick the new CEO. Okay, so here's what they have to deal with going into this whole new challenge. We're going to talk about this real quick. And the leadership reshuffle comes at a critical time for Stellantis as the automaker faces significant industry challenges. These include a declining sales in North America. We all know that. We've seen dealerships. Stellantis must address a sales slide in the key market, particularly with popular brands like Jeep and Ram. Okay, there's overcapacity in Europe. The company is grappling with reduced demand for electric vehicles in Europe, just as the Chinese automakers make aggressive moves into the region. So Chinese brands are coming into the region, especially like Leap Motor, which is brought in by Stellantis. But they're going to have to take and compete with like brands like Fiat, Lancia, DS, Peugeot, Citroen, and even Jeep. So they're going to have to really focus on that. And with EVs not only being pushed back from the U.S., especially in Europe, because they're just too damn expensive, they're going to have to refocus on their strategy there to maybe include more hybrid production. So that's what we're going to be looking at. The last thing that's a really big thing is maintaining stability, because the company's stock dropped 6.3% on Monday. However, it kind of it went up a little bit today on Tuesday, but not enough to like really gain attention. But it was a plus, and that came after they announced these changes. But for the whole year, just on the New York Stock Exchange, the company's declined 43.44% in their stock, the value of their stock. So I mean, it's just been crazy. So they're really going to have to focus on that. So yeah, like I said, we won't see any big, huge changes until the second quarter of 2025 when they pick a new leader. I've heard things that of different people that they're talking to. One is hopefully they can get the one that I've heard. If you watch on this channel, I've talked about it. I haven't put it on Mopar Insiders because it's not a fact, or it's not like a huge. I've got like 2 or 3 people I've talked to, and it's not worth really putting it on there unless I really know a lot about it. But they're talking to somebody maybe who's had their hands in the company before. So hopefully things will change. It looks positive. The local news went around and talked to people at Warren Truck, and those people were all talking positive about the situation. They were talking about how they were glad to see Tavares gone, and that things will change. And another thing was I was talking to some of the people I know within Auburn Hills and elsewhere in the Metro Detroit area that work for the company, and everybody's positive about Tavares leaving. That Tavares was such a poison to the company that morale was shot to hell. Even people that work for the unions are happy that he's gone. So there's a lot of positive, notions about this new change. So hopefully this will work. We'll see. So until then, stay tuned. We'll see you in the next video, and bye.